Good morning, and welcome back to America's Leaders from Coast to Coast, the 250th Anniversary Edition. I'm Stephen.
And I'm Leah.
We are crossing the Potomac River today, just a stone's throw from the capital, but a world away in terms of wealth and education. We are going to Northern Virginia, the 8th District. This is Arlington, Alexandria, and Falls Church. It's where the Pentagon sits. It's where Amazon built its second headquarters. And it's represented by a man who might be the most intellectually curious person in Washington. We are profiling Democrat Don Beyer.
Don Beyer is the definition of a Renaissance man. If you live in the D.C. area, you probably know his name for one reason: cars. Don Beyer Volvo is a legendary brand here. He took over his father's dealership business years ago and turned it into an automotive empire. So for a long time, he was just the successful local businessman. But then he decided to pivot. He ran for lieutenant governor of Virginia in the 90s and won 2 terms. Then President Obama tapped him to be the ambassador to Switzerland. Which sounds like a cushy job, but he was actually there during a massive crackdown on tax evasion. He was the guy negotiating with the Swiss banks to open their books.
So he's been a car dealer, a lieutenant governor, and an ambassador. He gets elected to Congress in 2014, and you'd think at that point in his life, he would just coast. He's wealthy, he has a safe seat. But instead, he decided to become the hardest working student on Capitol Hill. Leah, we have to talk about his current extracurricular activity, because it blows my mind. He is 74 years old, and he is back in grad school.
This is my favorite fact about any member of Congress right now. Don Beyer is currently enrolled at George Mason University, pursuing a Master's of Science in Machine Learning. He is literally taking calculus and linear algebra. He is learning to code in Python. He isn't doing this for a photo op, he's doing the homework. He said in an interview that he looked around a hearing on artificial intelligence and realized that most of his colleagues, and himself, didn't actually know how the technology worked. He was terrified that Congress was going to mess up AI regulation the same way they messed up social media, purely out of ignorance. So he decided to learn the math himself.
That is incredible dedication. And it makes him the go-to guy for anything AI-related. He co-chairs the AI Caucus. When he talks about algorithms or large language models, he isn't reading a staffer's talking points. He's talking about the code he was writing the night before. He recently introduced the Create AI Act, which is all about democratizing access to AI tools, so it's not just Google and Microsoft who control the future. He wants researchers and students to have access to the computing power needed to build these models.
He has that same obsession with fusion energy. He founded the Fusion Energy Caucus. For years, people rolled their eyes when he talked about fusion. It always felt like science fiction. But Beyer was visiting plasma labs, talking to physicists, and pushing for funding. And then, in 2022, we had that massive breakthrough at Lawrence Livermore Lab, where they achieved ignition, getting more energy out than they put in. Beyer was ecstatic. He views fusion as the holy grail of climate change. Limitless, clean energy with no nuclear waste. He is determined to make America the leader in that technology before China beats us to it.
Let's talk about the district itself, VA08, because it fits him perfectly. It is statistically the smartest district in America.
It really is. Depending on the year, it is either number 1 or number 2 for the percentage of residents with advanced degrees. We're talking about 75% or more of adults having a bachelor's degree. It is the home of the deep state, and I mean that in the literal sense of the civil service. The people who run the EPA, the State Department, and the Pentagon live in Arlington and Alexandria. Beyer understands that demographic. He is fiercely protective of the federal workforce. When there is a government shutdown, his district bleeds. He is always the loudest voice demanding back pay and fighting against cuts to federal benefits. He knows that his voters are the ones keeping the lights on in Washington.
And economically, the district is booming. You have Amazon HQ2 right there in Crystal City, or National Landing as they call it now.
That was a huge transformation. It turned a bunch of old government office buildings into a tech hub. Beyer supports that growth, but he approaches it from his role on the Joint Economic Committee. He loves data. He releases these deep dive reports on inflation and employment that are full of charts and graphs. He tries to counter the political spin with actual economic math. Again, it's the student in him coming out. He wants to show his work.
He is the car dealer who became a diplomat.
The 74-year-old learning to code Python to save the world.
That is our profile for Virginia's 8th. Stay tuned for our next profile. Please note AI assists in the creation of this podcast from pointedwords.com, and remember, better pointed words than pointed swords.